Hey guys, Itty here, and I just want to give you a video that kind of shows the showcase of the Sim Racing Studios version of the shaker seat versus the Next Level Racing haptic version, which is this guy right here. This is what we're really kind of reviewing, but it's kind of going against, and I know this is dark, guys, and you're not gonna be able to see it, but it's basically just the Sim Racing Studios shaker seat with the 4 actuators in it. There's a huge there's a huge difference between the way that they collect their data from DCS. So I just want to go ahead and tell you right up front, if you're ever actually wondering what my opinion is before you have to watch a 20-minute video, because I know you don't want to watch a video that's you can just find the information out right now. I think the Next Level Racing was really meant for racers. It's like for actual cars, that kind of things, because it just buzzes and that's all it is. However, the other one, because of the way it gets its information from DCS, it does things like canopy better, does better gear, does all these different types of things. So for flight sim, my personal opinion, the Sim Racing Studios, that is the better, that's the better seat. It transfers its data. So anyways, if you want to continue watching this thing for the scientific reasons, I'm going to be putting the phone on the seat so you can actually hear the different sounds and the different tones and see what it does with vibrations. I know it's one of those things you've got to kind of feel rather than hear, but you'll understand what it does. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I get it. But if you want to know my personal opinion, Sim Racing Studios crushes that. But that's for flight sim. That's for DCS specifically. I have not tested this seat, and I think it's a quality product. It's really good. Watch the video if you care, but if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'd love to answer them. Have a good day. So here is my honest review. I've only had this for a couple of days. This is the HF8 Pro, which has the 8 kind of actuators and whatever, speakers and everything like that. This was what I would consider an upgrade from what I had before, which is over here. This is the Sim Racing Studio. This is just that 4-pad thing, okay? So they make a new one, which, believe it or not, I thought I was actually buying the new one of these because it's got like the back stuff in it. That's what I thought I was doing. Now, a couple of challenges that most people are not gonna have like I have. Because of the DOF 6 A-frame that's in the back, you cannot get this seat to go back any further back, okay? So because of the thickness, it's really thick. It's probably about that thick. And it's, you know, it's pretty plush. You can push against it, and it's very comfortable materials. Of course, my cat's going to be getting into it. But, you know, it's got the straps, and, you know, it's got a little spot for the, you know, the cutout for the center stick and everything like that. Mine is just right off to the right anyways. But here's the challenges with this. It has some pretty cool software. I'm going to show you in just a second. This is the mode that you can use. Like if you hold it down, you can get into it for the sound mode. So once it's blinking, that means it's in sound mode. And then you basically just hold it again. Once it goes solid, that's going to be in the USB. And that's how I have it set up. So I have the power and all the other stuff cabled right here and just running straight into the back of the PC. The trick with this, okay, it's nice that you have like a rotary dial that you can just adjust the sensitivity on the fly. But this thing does not do telemetry the same way as the Sim Racing Studios. It is night and day. And what I have to explain to you and how to do that, and obviously this is a sensory thing, you've got to be able to put this in the context of like when you're using it, you're feeling it. So this video is not going to be able to do it. It's like a video trying to explain how good speakers sound. It's like you got to hear them in person. You can't see that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the cockpit with my little co-pilot here, and I'll show you kind of like what the software looks like, the adjustments, and the downsides of this particular unit. And again, when I say downsides, this one right here, it's to no fault of its own. It straps onto the back and overhead and stuff like that, keeps it in well, you know, place. It's got straps underneath as well. But the trick for me, again, because this is such a condensed cockpit and it's so hard to get into, you got to hoist yourself up over, put your feet down there. It's a challenge to get into. Without kicking the bottom MFD. So any closer feels like when you're kind of trying to drive your car and you slide it all the way up as far as it can go, and you have to drive where your chest is basically on the steering wheel. that makes driving very, very odd. So this actually puts me in a position to where I'm supposed to be like this, I'm actually like this close. And that being a problem because my head is too close to the track IR sensor now, it won't recognize when I'm doing all the pitches. So I can't go with this. I cannot use it. I have to physically take this off now. But what I did want to represent, some of the things that when it's actually working, the problem is when it's starting up in the helicopters, in the airplanes, all that kind of stuff, the telemetry data is not getting to this thing in the right way, so you don't hear the engines actually fire. Okay, so when you start them up, like for example in the Apache, when you finally hit when you take it out of the throttle detent and you start the engines, you get that boom. Now the other seat, this one, when you turn this guy on and you hear that thing rumble, you actually hear the pitch of the engines and you hear everything. So the gear, it does something different. All this thing does is essentially buzz. It just buzzes. It doesn't, I don't feel bumps as much as I feel buzzes. Now, the shooting, when you're pulling the gun trigger and you're doing that kind of stuff, it does give it a cool, you know, like it does that very well. But I honestly think, in my personal opinion, this seat it's really engineered for people that are racing. I think that that's what it is. But I'd have to get into a racing game. Now, this one is $249. The 6-speaker version, not the 8-speaker version of the Sim Racing Studios, which I'll show you, that one's $400 plus tax and shipping and whatever. So it's a substantially higher price for this. This is like practically half the price, and you've got even 2 more speakers. And again, it's a good unit. If I put it over here, I don't think I'm going to have any issues because I can put it right here and I can kind of adjust the seat, you know, kind of back and forth a little bit, like with the handles and stuff. That will be this. I could even put it over on this. It'll fit perfectly on that. And I can slide the seat back and forth and make that tiny little adjustment. But this one, I just can't do it. So it can't live here. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to experience anything more in this one. I got to take it off today and just get rid of it. I'm going to try to see if I can hook it up to the simulator for the racing to see if it's actually worth keeping. But at the end of the day, we'll see.
All right, so let's see if we can get some of this stuff explained to you. Let's go over to these two. All right, so this is what's currently hooked up, so I'm not going to show you the other stuff right now. I'm going to hook it up again, and I'm going to crop it into the video. But so what is happening here is we've got a couple things that we need to be aware of that it can do. First off, you can test. I'm just going to freak my cat out, but when I push this button, you'll be able to hear, like, this thing is just rumbling like crazy. And it's just a solid rumble, okay? And then you can kind of choose its intensity by, you know, turning down the knob here, and you can, you know, go through the overall feelings and stuff like that. Now, again, some of the settings in here, like landing gear. Okay, so what you can do is you can go in here and you can turn the landing gear off for, say, the back, because why would you feel it through your back? You may not want to feel it through your back. And I think the fact that all of this stuff being on, just to be honest, I haven't messed with it too much, but the fact that it's all on at all times, you really don't feel a lot of it being intense as its own selection because everything is already kind of just vibrating over the top of it, so it's kind of like lost in translation or lost in the mix. Excuse me. But all of the selections, like the flaps, G-force is a weird one because what this does is when you pull up hard bank, it goes from being a non-rumbly thing to just buzz, and just the whole thing just goes lights up. Now, you could probably turn that way down if you don't like that. You could even turn it off. You can just hit the slider and just turn that function off. But, and it's got this kind of weird selection where you've got, where do you want this stuff to end up, and, gunfire makes sense. Speed brake doesn't make so much sense. Stall is kind of weird. Damage and ejection, sure, those can be something like that, but there's no engine. There's no engine. So when this thing starts up, and let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the aircraft. Kind of skip around here, but even when doing this, and I'll go ahead and shut the door. It's waddling. It's all I feel is like if I can put this on there, It's just kind of waddling. Now I'll go ahead and start the engines. As soon as the APU's up, okay. Now from here, it's not doing anything. You know, they're about up to about 20%, 25%. But this is the coolest thing in this game, as you guys know. As soon as you take these things out of detent, you hear that cool ass sound. But guess what? Nothing's going on. Nothing. You feel nothing in this. Now on the other seat, you absolutely feel the engine turning on. You feel it rumble. Bring it up to power. And this thing is still not doing anything. Nothing. It's barely doing a thing. Now if that's the case, and I'm waiting for it, but it's still not doing it, sometimes it will just start buzz for no reason. It'll scare the hell out of you. Now you should have been able to experience that. But there is no engine feedback. None. Zero. And I need that. Like when I'm flying the F-18, I want to know when that engine starts. I want to know when it spools up. I want to know, for example, when I'm taking off of a carrier, that when I pull that gear switch up, if it's in the kind of like a weird position that it didn't recognize the down position, and you put it up and it doesn't come up, you'd be flying till 350 knots. You break off your door for your front gear. Now you can't fire any weapons, and you got to land again. Repair. It's just, you know, or respawn and go through the entire procedure again, all for the sake of not knowing if it did it. So when you have that on there, yes, there's a blinking light on it, and that's one way of looking, but the seat gives you that feedback, and you hear this. It's a very specific thing for that gear. So this, it's not doing anything. I'm going to crank it up. So it's maxed out. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. So, I mean, to me, it doesn't really make any sense, and I can't explain it any more than that, other than like a free flight. Maybe see if I can get off the ground. This is going to be psychotic. This is probably not the best way to fly when you're not in the cockpit, but nothing's happening. So you can see the motion simulator is going nuts. I'm going to go and crash. And that's all I felt was it's just buzzing now. And that's it. All right, so now I'm going to give you an idea of what it seems like in the F-18, and we'll just go ahead and put it into guns mode so you can see what it's going to do. That's how much it's there when you can see the actual buzzing when I'm firing. Okay, so the whole chair buzzes. Oh shit, I'm already out of weapons. Oh well, who cares? The point is that's the only real feedback that you get. Now it is rumbling quite a bit right now. It is rumbling, but it's kind of like a rumble, like it's just a constant thing. It's not. It doesn't really change. Now if I do take it out of autopilot, and then I do like a hard turn, it starts to buzz like crazy. Okay? I'm just pulling, about 5 Gs and stuff like that. But the whole thing is just buzzing. It doesn't make any sense that it would do that. Now, if it started to shake or something like that, I would understand that. But doing a hard turn and it just starts, the whole thing just starts buzzing. Like a seat massager or something like that. So that's just my opinion on what this thing does. And I don't think that... I don't know who to say that it's a fault thing, because the telemetry comes from DCS, should match up to this, but this is not the same way as how Sim Racing Studio actually handles the data. I showed you what options they had. Sim Racing Studio, on the other hand, this is what you get. So when you go into the shake mode, so what we're doing right here is the engine type. You can change to original, which was good. It was actually really good. But the enhanced, what it does is, I think what they did is they actually took the pitch of the game, or the pitch of the motor, so when they start low, they go, and they get higher, you actually feel the pitch in the seat. So it goes from a lower frequency to a higher frequency. It doesn't just buzz harder. It actually changes pitch. So you actually feel like you're a little bit more immersed in that. And again, you've got all sorts of different things like impacts. You got vertical G's. You got all these different types of things. You still got these type of accelerations, and they can help with that kind of stuff. But realistically, without the engine and the cannon firing and the canopy coming down, the landing gear and firing missiles, that's when you really want to feel the most things. Like, I don't understand, long G acceleration and deceleration. I don't understand how that would make any difference to you, like, as far as, like, why would you need that in vibrations? If you lose traction control or something like that, that you should feel a little bit of a different feeling than the friction you would have when you didn't lose traction. So, but, again, this is not in racing, this is flying. So this thing tends to, when the like high rattle aircraft like the F4, the Huey, there's a bunch of aircrafts in DCS that actually just shake like hell. They just rattle because they're old, and that's just what they do when you pull G's and stuff like that. But those particular aircraft, you feel this thing in the Sim Racing Studio version, not in this one. This one just buzzes. That's all it does. It does not knock. It doesn't go bang, bang, bang. Like it doesn't do what it needs to do. So the way DCS gets or the way Sim Racing Studio pulls its telemetry from DCS and how it converts it is far superior. All right, so now we are gonna restart. We've got the new pad. Now this thing is actually vibrating. I put this phone on there, and you can see that's vibrating. But what we're gonna do is gonna show you a couple things. I'm just gonna put the seat or the camera on the seat while it's recording, and just show you all the different things. So for right now, I'm gonna just close the canopy. All right, front will come in there. Now you still hear that vibration over that, but what we're going to do, turn on the APU. And I've got this kind of phone kind of like right in the center, so you're going to get vibrations now. You can hear that thing just coming on. And don't whine about my procedural startup, I'm just giving you guys the idea. All right. All right, this is the cool part. This is for the money. Alright, now I'm going to just, again, this is stupid, but I'm going to just attempt to try to fly this helicopter with no rudders. But just to give you guys some idea. It's very hard to fly this aircraft without any rudders. It's just going to auto-rotate, blah, blah, blah. But if I can get the position, you get the general idea of what's going on. But the sound is what's the cool part. Let's see if I can't waz the guns. I'm going to turn on the... damn it, how do I do that? Waz guns. I'd like him to go ahead and do the hailfires, but let's go ahead and crash. Pull down. Boom, boom. Wow. Harder to crash than I thought. Alright, so this one, I'm just going to put in the center of the pads here. I'm going to go ahead and close the canopy right now. Alright. Just go through the procedure here. And we'll just kind of look at the engines here. Starting the engine. Starting engine 2. Now, I want to show you the gear and a couple other different things because they're pretty unique in the way that they function. That just kind of is the rumble for that. So I've got to go ahead and that's just the starting up and the procedure. But let me go ahead and get to it where it's just runway ramp. Got super bewildered by the... Alright, so, oh, calm down. Alright, let me put this back on the seat. And what we are going to do now is do kind of things like the gear. And now we're in free flight. And we're doing about 300 knots, so probably want to get down and slow that speed. So this is the sounds. See if I got any kind of weapons. I don't know if I do. But here's the sound of the gun, or the, that's the sound. And here's the guns. The last little bit that I'd probably say, just trying to bleed my speed off here. Alright, that's good. Now, I'll go ahead and bring down the gear. Okay. And we'll bring up the gear. And I'll eject. So as you can see, it's doing a lot of things. It's still vibrating, you know, when I hit the ground and everything. Of course, I'm way too high. I'm not going to make you listen to that. But when you get to the ground, it goes ka-thunk, thunk, you know, and you roll and all that stuff. But you can see it's getting a little bit more gentle with the... Where my hair? Oh, there it goes. I'm just going to go into the... It's just flying around by itself. And boom, it's gone. All right, let me stop this. And I'll do a little narration on that kind of stuff, but hopefully that gave you some insight into the difference between the two things. And by the way, this thing shakes so much that it actually shakes the back of the chair, so you resonate it, you see it through the entire thing. So even though it shakes just down there, it's got enough power that you feel the whole thing. So it's not bad at all.